Okay, can we start?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so in this session, we are going to discuss about the theory of religion by Emile Durkheim. Okay, so we have already discussed about social facts, we have discussed about division of labor and also suicide. So in this theory also you will see the similar pattern. We need to discuss the definition. So first will be definition, and then we will see the cause of religion, why religion and how religion came into existence. So that is a cause. And we know that one of the most important pillars of Durkheim's methodology, that is distinction between or separation of cause and function to avoid the illegitimate teleology, that is function, right? Causal functional theory. So cause first and then he will explain the function. So he is separating the cause and function, that we have seen in case of division of labor also, and that we can see in all Durkheim's theories, right? So to avoid illegitimate teleology, he always separate the cause and function. That means he give distinctive separate explanation for the cause and then function. So first we will see the definition. So when we discuss about the definition, how Durkheim defined religion is like this. Religion is basically a unified system of beliefs and practices. Okay, so religion is basically unified system of beliefs and practices related to some sacred things. So it is all about beliefs and practices related to sacred things. Then he will say what is sacred. Sacred means those things which is set apart and people consider it as forbidden. Okay, so basically the definition is like this. Religion is a unified system of beliefs and practices related to sacred things, that is to say things set apart and forbidden. That's what I mean by the sacred things. And there is one more portion in the definition where he is talking about the function of religion. So that we can address later, or now I will basically discuss about that part, but in detail we will see in the function. Okay, so the beliefs and practices unite them into one single moral community called a church. All those who adhere to them, okay. So this is the second part. So the first part is basically related to the compositional aspect of religion. Second part is related to the function of religion. When I say compositional aspect, it is basically related to beliefs and practices related to sacred things. What do you mean by sacred? Sacred are those things which are set apart and considered forbidden. Then he further explained in the definition itself the function of religion. So the beliefs and practices that we discussed here unite the individuals into one single moral community called a church. Church here is actually religion only. So unite into single religion all those who adhere to them. So all people who follow the same religion will be together. So that result into unity among the people. That's what you mean by this definition. So I repeat it. Religion is a unified system of beliefs and practices related to sacred things. Okay, now what do you mean by sacred? Sacred are those things which are set apart and considered forbidden by the individual. That means fetishes. Then those who follow the same beliefs and practices will be united under the same religion. Okay, that's the function of religion. So this is the compositional aspect. So you can see in the definition two parts. First part is related to composition. Second part is related to the function of religion. Okay, so now here there is a possible question, that is sacred and profane. So if you get this question sacred and profane, what you need to do is first you need to define what is religion. So you need to say that Durkheim gave the concept of sacred and profane in his theory of religion. He defined religion as a unified system of beliefs and practices related to sacred things. So we introduce that sacred. Okay, and that is to say things set apart and forbidden. So there we are explaining what is sacred. Sacred means those things which are set apart from individual, and it is considered as forbidden by the individual, which is supernatural force, which is considered superior, which is considered supernatural by the individual. So individual consider it as fetishes. So that is what you mean by sacred. Now individual carry certain beliefs with respect to the sacred. Okay, so that is one thing. 1 minute. Okay, now when we discuss about sacred, the role of beliefs and practices are considered very important. Okay, now when we discuss about beliefs, so beliefs are basically the ideas that individual carry in the mind. Okay, it is the beliefs means the ideas that explain the sacred. We carry certain idea about God, right? So that ideas, the beliefs, okay, etc., that the individual carry in the mind is what you call as belief. That simple word meaning you can understand. Practices means what? These are the rites or rituals that you do, or when the individual interact with the God, right? So there are certain rituals or the rites that the individual do. Through that, individual actually interact with the God. So practices are the rites or rituals which explain the way individual behaves with the God, individual interact with the God. For example, worshipping. Okay, so this is a ritual. This is what you mean by practice. Beliefs means what is the idea that is there in our mind related to sacred. For example, any particular God, there may be worship related to that God, there may be ideas which we carry in mind. So this is belief and this is practice. Okay, so Durkheim also talking about the importance of beliefs and practices in the construction of sacred. So sacred means it's all about beliefs and practices, because sacred signify the religion. So I hope you understood what is belief and what you mean by practice. And there are positive rites, okay, also negative rites. Practice means the rites or rituals, right? So there are positive rites means, for example, worshipping. So positive rite means when you perform this, the distance between God and or the sacred and individual will come down. That is what you mean by positive rites. That means, for example, worshipping. The distance between God and the individual will come down when you interact with the God. Okay, so it is like you are getting too closer to the God when you worship. Negative rite means it reinforces the distance, or it maintains the distance between sacred and the individual. For example, fasting, okay, so or sacrifices. These are a kind of coercive practices, right? So actually the distance between individual and the God or the sacred will actually increase. So what I'm saying is, religion means it is a system of beliefs and practices related to sacred things. And when we talk about sacred, I've told you what you mean by belief, what you mean by practices. Beliefs are the ideas that you carry in the mind related to sacred. Practices means the rites or rituals that you perform when you interact with the sacred. It can be positive, which reduce the distance, or negative, which reinforce or increase the distance. For example, worshipping as positive and fasting or sacrifices as the negative. Now, apart from sacred, those things which do not have supernatural force, which is not considered as forbidden by the people, all are profane. So both are mutually exclusive. Both cannot be, the same. So if not sacred, it will be profane. Those things which are not related to God. For example, if you go to a temple, you see the idol over there. That is what sacred. But in the same temple, if you go, you might have some pipe or tap to wash your leg. All these are, profane. So profane are not supernatural. Those who are supernatural, which is sacred, profane are not supernatural, or anything other than profane, sacred is actually profane. So that is how he explains sacred and profane. Now what we need is, we need to explain the cause. So the definitional part is done. So we have done with the definition, and we have also discussed about this small concept, that is sacred and profane. So this can be a short note. This can be a short question.
So how fasting is negative?
Fasting is negative because people generally don't like to fast. Okay, so it is like coercive. No, you are not supposed to eat. You are not supposed to drink. You are not supposed to. You have to sacrifice a lot of things during fasting. So that is considered as negative. Okay, so now we need to explain cause. First we will explain the cause. That is the important point when it comes to Durkheim. Then we will explain the function. Function we have anyway seen from the definition itself, but still we will explain the function. So when he discuss about the cause, again he take up the conception of a primitive society. Okay, so he take up the concept of primitive society. Now understand it very clearly, very simple only. So he took the conception of, or he took the idea of primitive society. Now see, once we discuss about the cause, here we need to discuss about a method. This can be asked as a short note. That method is known as indirect experiment. Indirect experiment means this can be a separate question. Understand it here. Okay, so then it will be very easy only. Indirect experiment means he is going to study what? He is going to study religion, and he is going to establish the cause of religion. The point is, if you study the modern religion like Hinduism or Christianity or Islam, etc., these are very complex religion now. It have come much before, and at that time the context and this time it will be very difficult for you to study these religions at this point of time. So instead of studying these religions which are very complex, instead of studying these religions and establishing the cause, you study some elementary forms of religion. You study some elementary forms of religion which you can see. So if you can establish the cause of that elementary forms of religion, the same will be the cause when these religions came into existence 2000 years back or 1700 years back, etc. Okay, so the idea for Durkheim was like this: instead of studying this modern complex religion, study the basic elementary religion, establish the cause of that elementary religion. The same will be the cause of these modern complex religion at the time when they came into existence. And that is what basically you understand as indirect experiment. Rather than studying the actual phenomena, the current reality, you try to find the simplest form of that, and you study that and establish the cause through that. For example, in this case, Durkheim referred to various ethnographies, and he come up with idea of Arunta tribes. Okay, the tribes in the Australian Aboriginals. Okay, so in the Pacific Ocean region. So he find these tribes through ethnographies, and he understood the religion practiced by this tribe is actually totemic. Totemic means they worship a totem. Totem is a kind of idol. It can be anything. It can be a stone, it can be a river, it can be a tree, it can be anything. That's what you mean by totem. Okay, so the religion practiced among these tribes is the totemic religion. So according to Durkheim, if you can establish the cause of this totem, if you can establish the cause of the totem or how the totem came into existence, the same will be the cause of this modern day religion. So rather than studying this complex religion, you study this small religion and then establish the cause of that. Same will be the cause of these religion. That's what indirect experiment. Okay, now see, Durkheim is considered as a positivist. He is considered as a considering sociology as a scientific discipline, but still you see he is referring to various ethnographies. Okay, so here he is collecting the secondary information, and these are not necessarily correct. Okay, so his claim that he is an inductivist or he is a positivist is actually broke here while collecting the data itself. Okay, so we will come to that later in the criticism, but I'm saying he never went there. He just referred to various ethnographies. That means he collected data from the secondary sources, and there is a very famous criticism that the theory was already there in the mind of Durkheim even before he take up the analysis, and that's why he referred to particular ethnographies. Okay, so here what he is doing is he referred to ethnographies. He understood this tribal section, and the religion that they practiced is actually totemic religion. They worship the totem, and he tried to establish the cause or the origin of this totem. If you can establish the cause or the origin of this totem, same will be the cause of the modern day religion when that religion came into existence 2000 years back or 17, 15, 1600 years back. Okay, so that method is what you call as indirect experiment. So he is trying to study the Australian Aboriginals. Now he identified this primitive society, and he characterized this primitive society that the primitive people were wanderers. I will show you in a block diagram so that it will be printed in your mind that primitive people were wanderers. Okay, so and they occasionally come together. Wanderers means they just move around in the jungle, in the forest, and they occasionally come together, okay, for some purpose. They occasionally come together for some purpose, okay, and when they come together they will celebrate this togetherness, because they are meeting everybody. Okay, so till then they were alone, now they are meeting everybody, they sing together, they dance together, they celebrate it. Okay, and this give them a very good feeling, and that feeling is explained by Durkheim in terms of this exact same word you need to write, inverted comma, state of exaltation. State of exaltation or collective effervescence. Exact same word you need to write in your answer. Collective effervescence. Okay, so he explained that feeling in terms of state of exaltation or collective effervescence. Now after some time they will separate. Once they celebrate and everything is over, once they exchange their basic things, whatever one person collected to the other person, exchange will happen, and after that they will get separate. Once they separate, this feeling will disappear, this happy feeling will disappear. Okay, and the people want to re-experience that feeling, right? And this happiness, this feeling that they had when they met together at that particular place, the primitive people explain that feeling in terms of some supernatural force which was present at that point of time where they met. Okay, so I am saying again, this collective effervescence or state of exaltation or the happiness feeling that they got, they understood or they explained in terms of some supernatural force which was present at that point of time in that particular place where they meet. So they explain this reason for happiness in terms of that supernatural force. Okay, so here I'll write, the feeling disappears when people are separate, and they explain this to some supernatural force. Okay, and as human being, you know, they want to re-experience the feeling, so need to re-experience the feeling. Now to signify this supernatural force, they create a totem. Okay, so what is this totem? This totem is the representative of the feeling that they experienced or the supernatural force which was present at that time when they met. So this lead to creation of totem signifying mana. Mana means supernatural force. So they created the totem. What is that totem? The totem stands for the supernatural force. Now people will come again to the same place to worship the totem, because they identify it in terms of supernatural force. So when people are coming together again, many people are coming together in the same place, so they can re-experience the same feeling. And this is actually the cause of religion. So actually what finally Durkheim states is, it is not the God or the religion that you are worshipping. You are worshipping the togetherness. Why you are going to church or masjid or temple? It is not to worship the God. If that is the case, you can do that in your home. It is basically for the togetherness. When you go to the church, you will see people over there. Okay, if you are going to worship the God, you can go simple dress or anything. But is that the case? Is that the way you are going for masjid or the temple or the church? No, you will be going with a very good dress and okay. So it is basically, one, it is a show off. Secondly, it is basically to meet people. Thirdly, it is basically to experience some feeling of happiness. So effectively, you are not worshipping the God, you are worshipping the togetherness. You love the togetherness. That is why you are going to worship the God. So it is not the God who is worshipped, it is a togetherness, or it is a society which is worshipped. So this is actually the cause of religion according to Durkheim. I repeat, the cause, this is how he explained. Primitive people, they were wanderers, okay, and they occasionally come together with some purpose, basically to exchange things that they have collected. They will feel very happy, they will celebrate, they will sing, they dance, all those things will be there. That Durkheim explained in terms of state of exaltation or collective effervescence, and this feeling will disappear when they are separate. And they explain this feeling in terms of some supernatural force which was present at that time where they met, and they want to re-experience the feeling. So they create a totem which signify or represent that supernatural force. So when the people come there again to meet the totem or to worship the totem, they can experience the same feeling. So this is actually the cause of the totem, and we started like this. If you can establish the cause of the totem, this will be the cause of the religion. So this is how the modern religion also could have came into existence according to Durkheim. So effectively you are not worshipping the God, you are worshipping the society or the togetherness. Now second part of the definition, if you see, those people who follow the same beliefs and practices will be united under the same moral community called a church. That means if you follow the same beliefs and practices, you will be in a religion, and all the people who in the same religion will be together. They try to stay together, they try to live together, they try to do everything together. Okay, so there will be a culture which is developed, and that promote integration among the people. And there can be criticism, and later Robert Merton criticized that multiplicity of religion will create conflict. So if there is only one religion, it may integrate, but when there are multiple religions, different people following different beliefs and practices, that will create conflict in society. So I hope you understood the definition and the cause. This is very important. This is a cause. If you can remember this diagram, it's over. There is nothing more to study in this theory. Okay, so let's go to the PDF, and if you have any doubt after that, we can take up after discussing the PDF. So Durkheim's theory of religion explores yet another way to study a phenomena which is abstract but of profound importance in society. Rejecting the earlier intellectual and psychological explanation of religion, Durkheim proposes a distinct sociological explanation. See, we have discussed three theories. Division of labor, if you see, it is like till then it was considered as economic. Then after Durkheim took up this, it becomes sociological. Suicide, it was considered as something psychological, but once Durkheim took up this, it became sociological. Similarly, when we discuss about this theory of religion, this was considered as something which is philosophical, but it becomes sociological. So here itself you can make comparison between these subjects, you will get enough points for that also here itself. Okay. He considered religion as a social fact, that is, a phenomena which comes into existence its own and is independent in its existence. That means it exists apart from individual. His theory of religion contained in the book Elementary Forms of Religious Life, and he defines religion as religion is a unified system of beliefs and practices related to sacred things. Okay, so that is to say things set apart and forbidden, beliefs and practices which unite them into one single moral community called a church, all those who adhere to them, all those who follow them. So first part you can see, what is this? This is a compositional aspect. Second part, that is a functional aspect. Thus his conception of religion is based on two parts, the compositional aspect and the functional aspect. In the first part, religion is a unified system of beliefs related to sacred things. So if you get a question now related to sacred and profane, what you need to do, this is how you need to proceed. Durkheim gave the concept of sacred and profane in his theory of religion. He defined religion like this. Religion is a unified system that you can say, and you actually introduce sacred here. And then you explain this, that is to say things set apart and forbidden. So you basically explain the characteristic of sacred, right? It is things which are set apart and considered forbidden, fetishes by the people, supernatural by the people. So sacred things are those which are set apart and considered forbidden by the individual. Sacred things are all things connected with supernatural and are considered fetishes by people. People maintain a sense of distance with the sacred things. Durkheim also discusses the importance of beliefs and practices in the construction of sacred. Beliefs are the system of ideas which explain the sacred. You know this. These are in the form of myths or other spiritual ideas. Okay? Practices are the rites or rituals which explain the way individuals interact with the sacred. These are in the nature of system of rites which must be observed while interacting with the sacred. There are two types of such rites, positive rites and negative rites. Positive rites are those which help in reducing the distance between individual and sacred, for example, worshipping. On the other hand, negative rites help in reinforcing or maintaining the distance between individual and sacred, for example, fasting and sacrifices. The conception of sacred forms the basis of Durkheim's view about society. Okay, so the conception of sacred and profane forms the basis of Durkheim's view about society. For example, when we discussed about Marx, we discussed in terms of economic infrastructure and superstructure. So when we discuss about Durkheim, we talk society in terms of sacred and profane. Those supernatural are sacred, those which are not part of sacred are profane. According to him, society is divided into two parts or two worlds, that is sacred and profane. Sacred are things related to supernatural, profane include everything apart from sacred. These two worlds are mutually exclusive. That means a person or object cannot be a member of both at the same time. One world has to be relinquished for entering into the other. So that's about the definitional aspect and the main compositional aspect. Now we need to discuss about the cause of religion. So the cause of religion I can explain with this diagram. That itself is enough for you to understand very clearly. So the primitive people were wanderers. They occasionally come together, and when they come together there will be happiness. They celebrate it. Okay, that is what the state of exaltation or collective effervescence. But when they are separate, this feeling disappears and they want to re-experience the feeling. So they create a totem which is a representative of that supernatural force, and that is actually the cause of religion. Still, if you need to go for this written part, you can go for it. The same thing only, but the diagram will be very easy for you to remember, and you try to reproduce this in your words. Okay? In order to develop a causal functional theory of religion, Durkheim uses the method of indirect experiment. So this also can be a question. If this question is asked, you need to tell what is indirect experiment, and you need to write an example from this particular theory. With that only you will be able to come up with the proper content, and you need to write one or two criticism of this theory. Okay, so indirect experiment, or also sometimes referred to as single case experiment. According to him, modern religion is complex and full of heterogeneities. Establishing its cause is very difficult, but at the same time the simpler forms of religion exist. If the cause of such simpler forms can be established, the same will be the cause of modern religion. So I hope you understood there are simpler forms of religion. So if you study that and if you can establish the cause of that simple religion, the same will be the cause of the modern religion when that religion came into existence much before. At that point of time, the modern religion was also simpler religion only, but now it acquired complex form because of population, because of a lot of changes, because of emergence of a lot of sects and cults, etc. Okay, thus he chose simple forms or the elementary forms to develop his causal functional theories. This method is referred by him as indirect experiment. So explain what is indirect experiment. So I'll give you a model. If the question is asked on indirect experiment, you need to say that Durkheim introduced the concept of indirect experiment, okay, in order to conduct an objective study in sociology. This shows his concern towards ensuring objectivity and making sociology similar to natural science. So according to this experiment, according to this approach, now you can write what? You can explain this paragraph, how this method is or what this method is. You can study the simpler forms, and then you can say he used this method in his theory of religion, and you explain how he used this method in his theory of religion, and write one or two criticism. What is a criticism? Mainly it will be like he explained or gave this method for objectively studying the social fact, but this itself is colored by which smaller religion you will choose, from where you take that information, etc. is colored by the subjective bias of the investigator. And finally, in the last line you need to say that even Durkheim also in his theory has been criticized as the theory was there in his mind even before he took up the analysis. So this will be a very good, beautiful answer, and nobody can afford to give you, or nobody will stop giving you from 8 mark if it is of 10 mark. You will definitely get mark if you can write in this language and this way. Okay, so it's not that you need to read hundreds of books for preparing this each and every topic. Everything is there in your theories, and from there you need to develop it. So I have gave this answer from nowhere. Only this paragraph is what even I also referred. Okay, but we can connect it with what all things you have done and what is that experiment and what is a criticism. With that you will be in a position to write very good, beautiful answer. So this is how you need to structure your answer. I have told you the model for sacred and profane and also indirect experiment. So these are two possible potential questions that you can get from this particular theory, apart from the theory itself. Okay, so he chose a primitive religion practiced among Arunta tribe of Pacific Ocean by referring to various ethnographies. He chose this people because in his view, no human society could be more simply structured, and therefore their religion cannot be explained in terms of further reducible forms. The religion practiced in this tribe is totemic. Here a totem is worshipped, like totem means animal, river, etc. Totem is considered sacred in nature and all people worship the same totem. It represents the idea or identity of the particular clan. According to Durkheim, if the cause of totem is established, the same will be the cause of religion. Durkheim constructs a view of primitive society again on the basis of various ethnographies. So there is no need to tell that you don't have content for indirect experiment. This much is there, direct content. Apart from that, introduction you need to write from various other discussions that we have done. Apart from that, the example you need to write from this particular theory, and the criticism you need to take from the critical analysis. Okay, so you have enough and more content for that particular topic. Anything, sacred and profane or indirect experiment or this theory also. According to him, primitive men were wanderers. They kept on moving from one place to another in search of food and other things. I'm reading fast because we already know this. Occasionally they come together for some purpose. These occasional gatherings were the venues for exchanging basic things. They meet each other, they talk, they celebrate, they sing and dance together. They feel something different, but the feeling disappears when they are alone. Durkheim terms this feeling as a state of exaltation or collective effervescence. Exactly the same word, this has to be there in your answer in the inverted comma. Primitive men explain these feelings in terms of a force which exists when they were together. This belief in supernatural force finds mention, this mention is enough here, finds mention in various ethnographies, Megiddo's ethnographies, and has been termed differently. They feel a strong desire to re-experience that feeling, and thus the primitive men created totem. What is this totem? This totem is nothing but the representation of that feeling or the supernatural force. Okay, so what is the totem? Totem signifies that supernatural force, because they believe that this supernatural force which was present at that point of time in that particular place is the reason for that feeling, that state of exaltation or the collective effervescence that they had at that time. Okay, so the totem is the representative of that feelings or the supernatural force. So the totem is considered as sacred, and when people assemble to worship the totem, the same feeling can be experienced. You go to church, you go to the masjid, you go to the temple, you can meet people, you can interact with people, you can experience that happiness. Simple logic. Thus, according to Durkheim, or thus Durkheim established this is how Durkheim established the cause of the totem. So he established the cause of the totem, so same will be the cause of religion. And further he states, if it is at once the symbol of God and society. Okay, so it was symbol of what? God. God means the supernatural force, and society. Society means the togetherness. So see, it was, the totem was a symbol of both God and society, right? That is what we have written here. It is a representative of supernatural force, that is the God, and the feeling. right? That is related to the collective consciousness of the society, state of exaltation. So the statement goes like this: if it is at once the symbol of God and society, is it not because God and society are the one? That means the feelings, the collectivity and God both are same. Okay, so it is not that you are worshipping the God or the supernatural force. In terms of worshipping the God, you are actually worshipping or enjoying that togetherness. Ultimately, he proposes that religion is an expression of self-creation and it came into existence because of the autonomous development of society. And this sentence you can see in all the social facts, all the theory, division of labor, it came into existence because of autonomous development of society, right? And you have also discussed about suicide, the same. So religion also, it came into existence with the autonomous development of society. Family also, we will see the same. It is not the totem which is worshipped, but we worship the togetherness or the society. So this diagram, it should be printed in your mind. Primitive people were wanderers. They come together, they celebrate state of exaltation. That feeling will disappear when they are separate. They want to re-experience the feeling and they create the totem signifying that supernatural force, and that's the cause of religion. Now, what is the function of religion? If you follow the same beliefs and practices, you will be united under the same community. So that is a function. In the second part of the definition, Durkheim highlight the integrative role of religion. Okay, so religion is having integrative role. So this can be criticized. Marx criticism you can use easily. Marx says religion is the opium of masses. Religion is the hurt of hurtless world, soul of soulless condition, and opium of mass. So that is one criticism. And Merton, that we will see later, Merton criticized by saying that multiplicity of religion create conflict. Okay, in fact that is true, that is what you can see. But Durkheim will be true only if there is one religion, because then it will be integrating. The beliefs and practices related to the sacred bind people into a single community. People follow the similar moral code and thus live together as collectivity. In the societies having mechanical solidarity, religion represents collective conscience and integration of all in terms of similarity. So in the traditional society, which is based on mechanical solidarity, so religion integrate all in terms of similarity, that we have already discussed. People are alike, so similarity. In the modern society, although the control of collective conscience is reduced, but still religion integrate people as heterogeneous population tend to live together if following the same religion. So those are the criticism. At this point of time it is not required. We will discuss that tomorrow in the critical analysis. Thus, in contemporary societies where the societies are multi-religious, religion tend to integrate people within various communities, thereby stabilizing societies. Further, Durkheim also explained the growing popularity of science. He considered, what he's saying is science is also a system of or set of beliefs and practices, right? When you talk about physics, it is related to some beliefs and practices, some Newton's law, etc. Chemistry also, biology also. So if that is basically beliefs and practices, those who are following that particular science will be together. So science is basically a modern day religion, according to Durkheim. So people pursuing science tend to associate with each other in terms of these beliefs and practices, thus generating new states of collectivities. Okay, in this respect, he even states that science is a modern day religion. Okay, so I'll repeat what all things I've told you. Two simple questions or the short notes you can expect is actually sacred and profane. So if you get a question on sacred and profane, how will you answer? You have to tell that the concept of sacred and profane is given by Durkheim in his theory of religion. And you go for the definition. The religion is a unified system of beliefs and practices related to sacred things. So you introduce sacred and then say sacred are those things which are set apart and considered forbidden by the individual, and explain it is supernatural force, it is considered fetishes, and explain what you mean by belief. These are the myths or ideas that individual carry in the mind. Practices talk about rites and rituals, positive rites, negative rites. Okay, so that you can write, and everything apart from sacred or the supernatural will be profane. So that answer is ready. Then indirect experiment, just now I have told you how you can write indirect experiment. So if the question is about theory, go for the definition, that is the first part. So you know what all introduction you need to write in the context of Durkheim. So introduction should be there. So that we have discussed from 3 sessions. Already you have good content for introduction. Okay. And then theory. Okay. So the definition you write. Religion is a unified system of beliefs and practices related to the sacred things, that is to say things set apart and forbidden. Okay. And those people who follow the same beliefs and practices will be united under a single moral community, church. Okay, and then you talk about the cause. So that block diagram itself is enough. Then the function, integrative role. So that's about the theory. It's a very simple theory. Don't want to make it complex. I don't think that you need to read anything else for this particular theory. And for that matter, for thinkers, it's only for your satisfaction. If at all required, you can read Ritzer. Nothing else is required for thinkers. We are that strong in thinkers. And thinkers is my strong area, and I'm expecting that once we complete this discussion, you will be very strong in thinkers. Yeah, now we can take up doubts if you have. Yeah, Gaurav, tell me.
Sir, hasn't he explained the abnormal form or pathological form?
Here, abnormal form that you can write simply like what? Multiplicity of religion will create conflicts. So that you can write religion, but he is not specifically mentioning about abnormal form here in this theory.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
So you said like the negative means of worshipping, like fasting, sacrificing. So, like not these are measuring the distance between the God and the one who is doing the prayer.
Yeah.
So, but in the so how you can say that when we are doing fasting, we feel connected to God. We have some good feelings towards God.
You have, but Durkheim don't have. And I am saying whatever Durkheim said. Even I also don't have. When I fast, I don't like fasting. Okay, so most of the people may like it, people may not like it. People may do it just because their family want you to do it. Okay, I did it in my childhood, but I am not doing it anymore. Okay, so if you enjoy and if it is, so that is what even, it all depends on the individual. And according to Durkheim, it is like a coercive measure. You are sacrificing a lot of things, and individual will not sacrifice for anyone and anything. It will be very difficult.
Okay, so when Durkheim is saying that by positive means the distance is reduced, it means this is what he is thinking. In actual, it's not happening.
Positive? Pardon, I didn't get you.
When he's talking about positive means, and he's saying
positive rights means worshipping. See, when worshipping, there is no effort. No, you just go to the church or you just sit in home and just close your eyes and you can worship. There is no effort. There is no sacrifice. So there you may feel some connection. I don't know whether you feel connection with God or not, but even he also saying, and I have seen some people also saying that you will feel some connection with the God and all. Okay, so that is reducing the distance. You can directly talk to the God. Okay, so see, you can see some people are talking like that. Even Durkheim is also supporting the same argument. But in case of fasting, it is negative worship. I am not supporting anyone or anything, but I am saying whatever Durkheim said. Even Durkheim also said the same. Yeah.
So can I say that because of these coercive meanings, because these are coercive means, so that's why he's saying it's not reducing the distance because those are coercive. This is what he wants to say.
These are coercive, like you are forced to do this.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have one more request. Sir, so in the next class, can you please present us with a sheet, like answer sheet, like for 10 marks, we have to fill this much of sheet, something like that, because I don't have any idea.
That we will do later. At this point of time, it's not required. We'll complete the syllabus now. I'm sticking to the syllabus. That's my important objective. Otherwise, it will go long.
I was thinking I would take 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah, I've told you, no, this is how you need to write. I've given you the pakka perfect content for 10 mark. And if I need to extend that to 300 words, I can extend that. But these will be asked for 10 mark. That's why I've limited to that content. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Tell me, Praveen.
Sir,
Louder.
Yeah, okay. Is it audible now, sir?
Yes.
So in an indirect experiment, you said that he has studied the basic content, like the Totemism force or one thing, and he has shown that because of the religion. Do you think is it okay with trying to study only the basic Totemism force of the religion and just finding out that causes of religion? Because we are so multicultural, so we studying only one religion is sufficient to gain the study to get the cause of this religion.
That is a criticism, no? That is a criticism. You can use the same as a criticism. We don't want to accept it completely, and even nobody is accepting this. This many people consider it as illogical also. So it is not that we need to accept this theory, but you need to know this theory as a sociologist. Okay, you just need to know this theory. Nobody is asking you to accept it or follow this theory. This could have been one of the reasons according to Durkheim. You can use the very same argument when you are criticizing this theory. It may not be possible to explain the modern religion, etc.
Hello, sir. Sir, isn't it a crude comparison that science is the modern day religion?
Anjali is also asking the same. Yeah, but what Durkheim says is, it's all based on that definition which he gave. No, what is religion? Religion is a system of beliefs and practices. If that is the case, if that is the case, science is also based on beliefs and practices. So, if
but for religion, it is very pertaining to the state. Even we can say that it is pertaining to that locality.
Yeah, but ultimately that is creating a collectivity, togetherness. Exactly the same as what happening in case of science also, like natural science. For example, physics. There are some people who are following this particular beliefs and practices. They will be together, and that's why the science department and all these things are there. Like that. There's some small comparison based on his definition, and he's making a claim that science is modern day religion. Based on that only. Based on what? Based on that definition. Religion is the beliefs and practices. So science also related to beliefs and practices. Second part of the definition of religion is those who follow the beliefs and practices will be together. In case of science also, those who follow the beliefs and practices are together. So in that context, science is a modern day religion according to Durkheim.
Sir, that possibly can it be a criticism, sir, when we are presented?
Which one?
Sir, the modern day science as a modern day religion.
That is Durkheim said. No, what criticism
yes,
there are many criticisms. For everything there are criticisms. Yeah. Based on his definition only, he is saying it is modern day religion. Ujjwal, tell me.
Positive and negative rights are depend on us or other thing.
You see, if it is depending on us, some people will consider worshipping or fasting as positive. Okay, so they think that fasting we are doing it and we are okay with it. But it is actually given by Durkheim. So we have to study that in that way only. And generally speaking, worshipping and fasting, if you compare, if I ask you, one among this you need to do, which one you will do, worshipping or fasting? Worshipping, because that is easy. The other one is like you need to put effort, coercive. That's it. So when you suffer, what does that mean? When you suffer means God is superior. That superiority is actually maintained. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Tell me, Amar.
Yes, sir. So I want to understand the utility of this concept of profane. It doesn't seem to be utilized anywhere. How can we utilize the concept of profane?
Actually, this theory is all about sacred. So once you discuss about sacred, everything other than sacred is profane. Like the entire society, what all things we can see is actually related to non-supernatural, so profane. So no relevance in this context for profane.
Okay. And the second question is, often we are asked to comment on the utility of Durkheim's theory on religion to explain the religion in modern society. So just now you said that it was very little value because it's actually one of the criticisms. Is that he brought down complex religion in modern societies.
No, in modern society also, when you want to write positively, we can write positively that in modern society where heterogeneous population is there, still people are living together if they're following the same religion, and they make a cluster of, you can see again in many parts of the world, people live in clusters in villages based on religion also. Some areas Hindu, some areas Muslims, some areas Christians, you can see in India.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so that is also considered as integrative role. Religion is integrating people. In modern society also, despite the fact that people are so much heterogeneous, but people are still united because of religion.
Right. So that is.
That is there still relevance is there, no? That we can write.
And sir, any more points apart from this?
Apart from that, you think of it. Okay.
So can you help us, sir?
It is open to your imagination and your understanding. It is
Yes,
clearly
sir,
open.
if you can help us.
I am opening it to you. Just think of it.
Okay, sir. Anyway, sir, please continue giving us the framework of answering, just like you did, sir, for sacred and profane and this indirect experimentation. That really helps a lot, sir.
Yeah,
Please
sure.
continue. Thank you, sir.
So can we stop?
Hello, sir, one doubt. Sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, in division of labor theory, Durkheim is saying that it's an organic solidarity which is binding the society together, like it is making the interdependent. And in this in his religion theory, he's saying that religion is binding together. So why is he two different concepts in two different theories?
Both are, he is focusing on this functional aspect first of all. So he is trying to see how people are integrated. So on one side, it is because of division of labor, it has created interdependence. So people are together because of that. Secondly, even though some more heterogeneities are there, but still if you are following the same beliefs and practices, again you are together. The first one is interdependence. Here, integration, you are together, that's it. Here there is no interdependence concept. But both way it is integration, but the first one, that integration is because of interdependence.
Basically, the keyword is interdependent and
Okay, so see you tomorrow. We'll discuss the critical analysis.